I'm only going to be here a few minutes, and I just wanted to give you an update of what we're doing and the success that we're having at the CSPOA. Okay, it's Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, and yes, we are doing this just as much as we can afford to. And I say that because we need funding really badly, and we're only limited by our funding. And so any of you that would like to help us with the funding, we've had two miracles happen in this year. January 30th, we had our first Constitutional Sheriff and Peace Officer Convention in Las Vegas. It was absolutely miraculous. We raised enough money to fly in 100 sheriffs from all over the country. We paid for their airfare, their hotel, their food, everything. And then we did another one September 17th, Constitution Day. And we didn't have as many sheriffs, but we had more county commissioners and city councilmen and state reps and people that were really across the country wanted to get more involved in. And what we did is we put together evidence for you. We put together a DVD set of what happened there, and we had about 14 sheriffs speak. We had, let me just read the names of the people that you'll see on here. Chris Ann Hall, she's a constitutional lawyer from Florida. Stuart Rhodes, Larry Pratt, Michael Badnarik, Joe Bannister, I think you've heard of him. Peggy Littleton, she's a county commissioner from Colorado. Bill Jasper, he's investigative reporter with JVS. Ken Ivory, he's a state rep from Utah. Joe Wolverton, and yours truly. And then there's several other sheriffs on here, including Sheriff Arpaio from Maricopa County, and I was just in his office over the Thanksgiving holiday, and he's expressed a desire to get more involved with us. And we've expressed a desire in getting more involved in what he has done. I don't know if you realize this, but the media has ignored probably the biggest story in the world, not just U.S., in the world, where a sheriff has actually conducted a criminal investigation on the President of the United States, which is suspect because the whole investigation is that he's not really qualified to be President of the United States. So that's kind of a conflict of terms right there. But we want to get more involved and get our sheriffs that have expressed a desire to be a constitutional sheriff to get more involved in that investigation. And what you have in front of you is a pamphlet about the CSPOA, and I want you to know the value of this little thing here. And this is the highlights of my Supreme Court victory. And I'll be the first one to tell you, we need to stop going to court. We need to stop asking permission from somebody who has nothing to do with what I'm supposed to be doing in the first place, and that is sheriffs who simply act instead of asking permission to keep their oath of office. Something they've already promised you and in God's name that they would be doing in the first place. And so that's what we do at CSPOA. Let me reiterate. We are simply going as far as our funding takes us. And so we're trying now to take the CSPOA into every state. We want to go to every state Sheriff's Association. Just 2 nights ago, I was right here in Austin at the Expo Center meeting all 60 new Texas sheriffs. And so they had this little banquet and convention, and so CSPOA helped sponsor that banquet. And we were there, and we were handing out all these things to all these new sheriffs. And many of them came up and said, hey, thank you for your endorsement. And one guy who lost his race said, hey, he said, I'm really sorry. He says, we didn't connect. He says, if I'd have had your endorsement, I probably would have made up the 25 votes I lost by. And so now he's the undersheriff in a neighboring county. And so he's still active and still going. And we have a very sad story right in here of John Green, who I endorsed and went up to Idaho to campaign. Here is a constitutional attorney running for sheriff in what county? Kootenai County, which is Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, way up north in Idaho. And I went up there to campaign for him because he's a good man and he's a constitutionalist and he knows and understands the position and power of the sheriff. And that is what we're doing. And let me tell you something right now. There's a lot of people here that you'll listen to that are talking about things that we need to know about. I consider Larry Beecraft and Joe Bannister and John very, very close and dear friends. And I love what they've done, and I love the courage that they've shown in standing for America. And Steve also. I've known Steve probably longer than any of them. And you need to know what's going on. But let me tell you right now, your sheriff can make a lot of this stuff irrelevant. And he can make Washington, D.C. irrelevant. And he can provide you every type of protection that you've ever dreamed of, if he'll know and understand and do his duty. And in this Supreme Court decision, it talks about a lot of this. And do you know that this decision right here, it says on the front, it's the Mack Prince versus U.S. case. I was a small-town sheriff in southern Arizona, along with Sheriff Prince, a small-town sheriff in northwest Montana, Ravalli County. And the two of us go to the United States Supreme Court saying the federal government can't do this in our jurisdictions. And luckily, the Supreme Court agreed with us, because even if they didn't, they still wouldn't have the jurisdiction to do it. And we shouldn't have asked for permission to tell the federal government no. And your sheriff has the duty and the obligation to enforce the Constitution and the Bill of Rights in your county. What does that do for you? If he knows and understands his duty to uphold, protect, and preserve the United States Constitution, then he knows when the IRS comes in to take your property that he interposes on your behalf. And that's what we've been teaching. And now we've had over 150 sheriffs come to our convention where we've taught this stuff. And we have more that are interested. Some can't travel, some won't go to Vegas, and now we've promised some other sheriffs that we would have conventions in other places. And right now we don't have the money to do it. If you want your sheriffs to get involved in this holy cause of liberty, I'm asking for your help and support. And we are selling, I've written a book recently that's very timely as to what happened in Colorado and now Connecticut, that is called The Magic of Gun Control. My dear friends, you saw what happens when people rely on something called gun-free school zones. You know, what were the kids to do? Point to the sign? To this maniac, idiot, coward? You know, it's really gotten to where the gun grabbers in this country expect that to be so. That the sign will stop the bullets. The laws and the paper they're written on will stop the guns. And if we all just do as Bloomberg said, give up our guns, then we're all going to be in a safer place, right? And yet, you know, for that to work, my dear friends, for that to be true, it would have to be magic. Thus, the title. And you can read in this a chapter dedicated to law enforcement officers and public officials who've actually already enforced the Constitution in the past. And you can see that in here. And I'm sorry, the book that I wrote that went viral, The County Sheriff, America's Last Hope, we're out of those right now. That's the good news. The bad news, you can't get any. You'll have to order some if you want to get some later. But this book can make up for a lot of it. And this is probably the most powerful tool, except for your little pocket constitutions. And let's look at one of the things that Scalia said on page 9, second paragraph. If a sheriff does some of these things for you, so imagine that you won't have to find some great lawyer like Bannister had, that you won't have to go spend your life savings that many of us have done. And I know how that feels in the lawsuit that I took on. And these things take so much money. But the NRA helped finance a lot of mine too, but I hired my own personal lawyer as well. And that came out of my own personal pocket. But it costs about $450,000 to get to the Supreme Court. Any of you have that lying around? Don't go to court, give it to the CSPOA so we can keep educating sheriffs so where you won't have to go to court. But I really love this quote, and he's actually quoting Madison. Hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people. How does that double security arise to you, my dear friends? When local officials, especially your sheriff, interpose on your behalf. That is how it applies to you. Hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people. Read the next line. The different governments will control each other. My dear friends, I didn't make that up. I'm the messenger here. And I can plagiarize this all I want to, can't I? Because it was my case. I went to the United States Supreme Court as a sheriff of Graham County, Arizona, and won. 3 weeks later, I left office. I was voted out because I stood for what I believed in. But, you know, who cares? You know, these things are going to happen. And we're telling the sheriffs, quit worrying about your retirement, quit worrying about your jobs, and do your duty that you swore to do when you took your job. You swore to do that. So let me just leave you with this. This costs $49.95. We've got a Christmas special of 15% off, which I get take it down to $45, and $5 we usually have to pay for shipping, don't you? Right. Tanya's been sending these out all over the country all week, along with my wife. So we'll do these for $40. So 1 silver coin will get you this. 2 silver coins will get you everything plus a T-shirt, okay? Or if you do FRNs, we'll just have to work that out between us, I guess, won't we? You know, if you give me worthless paper like that, we'll take it. But we'd prefer silver or gold or whatever you can. Are you going to be here a little bit longer? Because I have to leave, folks. My wife's waiting for me right now. We're headed to go see our kids for Christmas holidays, and we're going to kind of do a tour. We're starting up in Utah and then go down to Arizona, and we're leaving right now. But I'll stay here and help you with this, and if any of you want to get these fantastic products. This right here is the Miracle in Las Vegas. You don't want to miss seeing this. And there's 6 DVDs in here of what we did. And you can see the evidence yourself that there are sheriffs standing. And we have now over 150 across the country. And you know, miraculously, where we have about 9, 10 wonderful sheriffs standing and fighting and interposing? California. But it's northern, okay? It ain't LA and San Diego. And we've actually had a constitutional sheriff in San Bernardino in the past who fought, Sheriff Penrod, who fought against the Forest Service and BLM. And we're doing this, folks, because of one reason and one reason only. The holy cause of liberty, as Patrick Henry called it. Because hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people. Wouldn't you love to have a sheriff like Sheriff Brad Rogers, who threatened to arrest the FDA just a year ago for coming in and bothering an Amish farmer who wouldn't pasteurize his milk? There's other Amish farmers and a Mennonite also in Wisconsin who are being charged criminally because they won't get licenses or they won't pasteurize their milk. And we're helping these people as best we can. And I guarantee you, folks, you look down at your hands, that's where the solution lies in all of this. So get involved with us, join us, go to our website, cspoa.org. And Steve, thank you so much. You're a brother and a good friend, and I thank all of you. And if there was ever a time for the Prince of Peace, it's now. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.